20th attacks. 18th and 19th of November 2020 will forever be fresh in the memories of Ugandans that witnessed the grisly murders on the streets, a culmination of what was happening in Luka when the then presidential candidate, now the current principal of National Unity Platform, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi, was arrested. It brought a serious situation, chaotic fracas all over the country. To date, 4 years down the road, there remain quite a number of unanswered questions. We'll be doing a reflection on this and speaking to the politics 4 years later. What has happened and how can the country pick up the pieces or pick from lessons from the ugly incidents of November 20th. I'm joined this morning by Honorable David Kabanda, the Secretary General of Patriotic League of Uganda, together with Counsel George Musisi, lawyer for National Unity Platform, and Mr. Ivan Bwowe, a lawyer and human rights activist. Good to have you, Honorable Kabanda, and a very good morning.
Thank you, Simon, and all the viewers. Good morning.
Good morning, Counsel Musisi.
Good morning to the viewers. Good morning.
Counsel Bwowe, good to have you.
Good morning.
Well, I'll begin with you, Counsel. It's been 4 years down the road. I saw the commemoration event, very desperate parents and relatives, missing persons, stories of missing persons. How are you recollecting?
Well, what happened 4 years ago is a scar on the conscience of our nation, Simon. And the saddest bit about it is that no justice has been done. What we can even if you followed the official government report, which says that 54 people were killed, and the official government report said that out of the 54, 42 were by stray bullets. So you even wonder, these bullets were targeting who that they strayed to kill the 32. And the official government report further said that of the 54 killed, only 11 were actively rioting. That means the others were innocent bystanders, like they were profiled eventually. Someone in a mall, someone in a taxi, and they're shot by bullets. One, no compensation to date has been given to any of the families of the victims. Secondly, no responsibility has been taken in terms of punishment for anyone, either the commanders who had command responsibility for an operation where Ugandans, that people can die and nothing happens. We've gone to court on, I think, about 5 cases, 5 families. 4 of the cases have not been heard or determined by court. Only 1 has been determined yet, and court gave, I think, about 50 million for the family, which was paltry, and the family has appealed to the Court of Appeal. So it's the saddest bit beyond what happened that we can even have a civil confrontation descending into those areas, and then people die, and then people are shot. That no justice years later is a scar, and this is not a political issue, because I don't think that all the 54 people, of course there are other reports which put it more, I don't think that even all of them were NUP supporters. Like you noticed that some were just innocent bystanders who were caught by bullets. And of all the people who died, only 1 person died of an accident. And I'm just even quoting the official report, the one who was hit by a car. All others were shot by bullets. So killing in the middle of a campaign, and years later, there is no closure from government as a principal duty bearer that this is the compensation that this person, because if you are saying 42 people died to stray bullets, who was commanding that operation, what has been done to him? There is something, Chisaka and others are in court because of what they call criminal negligence. Negligence is failure of duty on someone who was, I think it's one of the saddest things that has happened in our last 5 years as a contemporary Uganda.
Well, thank you. Honorable Kabanda, well, 4 years on, what remains a sticky subject is the quest for justice. What has stood out significantly for you over the past 4 years since the gruesome events?
Of course, Simon, I can takes maybe my brothers, George Musi, through a series of events on that same day, exact day, where the president of the National Unity Platform, then a candidate for NUP, was arrested from Luka. One, I am a survivor of the November attacks, riots, myself. There are so many policemen and policewomen who are survivors of the riots. There are so many NRM people who are survivors and died from the riots. So when you say National Unity Platform is seeking for justice, also the National Resistance Movement is seeking for justice. Because,
From who?
Because we were equally attacked by the supporters of the National Unity Platform. You remember that day what happened? There was a gentleman called Salim Chiseka who had come to Kampala. He was contesting for Maugora North Constituency MP. He had come to Kampala, I think, for some materials at Nasser Road, and when he was going back, he was attacked. When he was attacked at Chiseka Market, you remember what happened? He was even forced to drive recklessly and killed so many people because he was under attack by the supporters of the National Unity Platform.
Are you sure about that?
I am
Are you sure
sure.
these were supporters?
The videos are there because even me, myself, when I was driving on that same day to Mubende, I was attacked from Bwaisi. I survived there because SFC was actually there. The commander of SFC then, Major General Virunji, is the one who rescued me. They drove me up to Shell Bulenga. There I survived. I reached Buloba. I survived. When I reached Mairo Mwenda there, I didn't survive. I had to use money. And these people were wearing the NUP berets. They were saying, if you don't have money, they have just told us you have killed our president, you can't survive. And they were beating people around. They had just beaten a woman, the supporters of the National Unity Platform. So when you're seeking for justice, Council, I also want you to put into consideration the supporters of the National Resistance Movement who are also killed and tortured by your own supporters. I was told Joel Senyonyi was going to Luka. I think either Council George Musi was also one of them.
Yes, I was there.
In the ambulance.
No, it was not an ambulance.
It wasn't. But they found many roadblocks, very many, not by police, not by the military, but by the supporters. So whoever was passing, they had to open the cars. They were coming out. We are the ones, we are part of you, don't hurt us. So now, supposedly it wasn't Senyonyi, it wasn't George Musi, my brother Council. They would, of course, attack you and
So
destroy
you
your
want to
vehicle.
suggest that the entire nation is seeking justice. From who?
Exactly, from who now? Because now the security agencies were responding to what? Today, the unconfirmed report, I have at least seen it, Winnie Byanyima put on her social media accounts that Chiza Besigye has been detained and is in a military jail in Kampala. Now, if nobody demonstrates and they use the legal ways of finding out why Besigye was arrested and why is he in Makinde, and nobody demonstrates, how do you expect the military to respond with either tear gas or arrests or brutal killings, as you have called them?
You seem to be hinting on the notion that this was a provocation.
Absolutely it was, because now the guidelines, when we come here on this show, Simon, you are the moderator. You want to deny that? When you give me a chance to speak, I speak. When you give him a chance to speak, he does so. The Electoral Commission then was the mediator of all the candidates. Once they said, do this, do the other, do this, you had to abide by the rules of the game. These people never did so. They moved around with processions, and when the police came to say
So the confrontation was warranted, in your opinion?
But who confronted who? Because for them,
security confronted.
Exactly. The police never confronted them. Police said, don't do this. And they said, no, we have to do this forcefully. Now, you remember when the president, Yoweri Museveni, had just captured power in 1986. He took the journalists to Ruwero and was showing them the skulls, was showing them, the journalists, of course, not from Uganda, from outside, BBC, and he was showing them around how Obote had massacred people, what had happened. Of course, he later revealed to Ugandans that he was doing that in order to get support from those people because the government had no money. And these people, when, at least I know, Council George is not among those. But if you have been following events, these people are making money out of that.
Oh, seriously? Let's get to that.
They are making money.
Let's get to that shortly. Council Bowe, what are your reflections of the November 20 attacks, 4 years on?
First and foremost, it was a very unfortunate day. It shows that we are not at that level where we can civically engage as citizens in an election. It was violence from the state on the citizenry, and it is not separated from Uganda's history. I want to refresh your minds a little. I call it, people have tried to downplay the significance of that day by calling it a riot, by calling it very many things. But to be honest, that day was a massacre. And we should condemn it in all ways. There is no justification for the security apparatus to behave the way they behaved. It was not warranted. But I also wanted to refresh a little bit the minds of Ugandans that in 1989, there was a massacre where people were put in wagons, the Mukula massacre. Coming forward, we had the Kayunga, the Buganda riots. We had the Kasese, and then we had this November massacre. So many lives were lost. That's very important. And I want also to clearly state that one of the roles of a state, a functioning state, an effective state, is to protect people's lives and their property. And in our jurisdiction, the state has the guns. Those guns are not supposed to take lives, because that is the duty of the state is to protect lives. But instead, the arms have been used instead to massacre people. I have heard a lot of things about stray bullets. For it to be a stray, there has to be a target. But striking of all these things is that there is no accountability. You can trace it back from the Mukula massacres and all the massacres we've had. Barely do we have the state account for it killing the citizens.
Okay, do you imagine that the demand for accountability has been pressing enough to get the state on the edge?
One, I also want to say that we have a problem in our country today. We are more, the people who are supposed to press for accountability are more of event managers, jumping from one event to another, then commemorations. And to me, that is not enough, because I have been in rooms where people are asking these questions and people are not giving answers, even from the opposition. We've had issues whereby even when the unfortunate things happen, then the opposition or the people that are supposed to push to make sure that we have accountability instead choose their personal comfort in terms of making money out of the unfortunate events that happen.
You need to elaborate.
I want to tell you that I can authoritatively speak that there was a movie, a documentary that was made that covers that massacre. I
To
cannot.
highlight the tragic event.
Yes, which is a very good thing. I commend that. There was a price tag attached to that documentary. That price tag, that money was given to an individual who has never disclosed how much and where in terms of trying to help society and the victims get some little bit of relief.
Can you hold it there? Can you just hold it there? I get back to you. Council, do you think the demand for justice has been distorted in all these notions that it has become now a lucrative enterprise?
This debate to not to degenerate into diversions. Simon, if you're talking about people who were killed, the first issue should be who killed them. If you're talking about
At least the state owned up for it.
so then what next? Let me first answer your question. When you say that the demand for account, where I started from, I said these people, the 54 or more than 54 people were killed. Not all of them were NUP supporters. Most of them were even innocent bystanders. Daily Monitor profiled all the people who were killed and where they were
The
killed from.
lives that were lost, yes.
A retired Makerere professor was in a mall. He had come to pick something. A lady was seated in a taxi because it couldn't move on the road. They had taken shelter at the roadside, and a bullet hit her. Where should why I said that we shouldn't be diversionary? We lose the point, Simon, when we think that there is a particular group which is responsible for us seeking the answers. That day when the riots broke out, I was in my office in Nakasero. And getting from town at around 3 p.m. to my home, I went through several disturbances. There was just in front of Case Hospital, the junction of at Buganda Road, there was a roadblock, fire burning on the. It couldn't differentiate whether you are NRM or NUP. It couldn't.
What has happened since?
So
what is critical now is what has happened since.
So if we start looking at this through petty political lenses, we lose the point. Now, when my brother says that, people are making money out of it, was this stage managed? Was this staged to make money, that there was a movie set and this was all part of the act? So that's why I'm saying that we lose the point
Okay.
when
Has
we
it turned out to
when
bring
we try
some
to
money?
roll into our petty political differences. Because, like I said, if you are moving on the road and there is a riot, it won't tell. My brother Dawood is saying that, even NRM people are traumatized. Yes, and I'm saying no person should be either traumatized or beaten or what. The essence of the state of security is to ensure that people are protected, both NRM and NUP. And even the NRM people who are traumatized like him, he says was traumatized, he has a right to seek a remedy.
Thank you. Why, Honorable Kabanda, why are you fixated with the argument that the National Unity Platform, instead of pressing for accountability, which they have done, you have seen them going to court, you've seen them
But this is a duty of NUP
visiting
alone.
prisoners, you've seen them really pressing hard, but you seem to be looking more at the other side of the coin.
Diversion.
It's very unfortunate that he has referred to Council Ivan's statements as petty and trivial, petty. But to me, I think they are not trivial, they are not petty. These are pertinent issues that need to be looked at with at least big lenses. Because let me ask my brother, Council George Musisi, you remember what happened on that day? The president of Uganda came out and held a press conference and said there are some people who had made it a habit to traumatize NRM supporters. Because on that day there was a woman who was stripped naked. She was wearing a yellow T-shirt. And the president said, I am going to make sure that even if you see an NRM shirt, a yellow shirt, even if you don't want it, you don't touch it. that is now what council is talking about, and that's what you are asking. If the president has made sure that all his supporters are well protected by putting up some measures, and for you, when they say that you are leaders, of course not you. When we come here, we are not saying that we condone violence or we do what, but you remember those people that you are pleading for, those who are in New Zealand. One of them told me, through Honorable Mawanda, who was also in New Zealand, said, one of the leaders of the National Unity Platform came here and told us to go to the court before the... You remember that statement? I told you.
No, I've only heard it from you. I've not heard it from anyone else.
But I told you.
I've checked it with him. So
you need to.
Yeah,
If you could share it with us. If you could.
Yes, you need to, because that gentleman says he was approached by the leaders of the National Unity Platform and asked him to go and shout in court, make a lot of noise, so that you were not released from... Because you may think this is petty, but I am just giving information that I did not receive from the person they are talking about. You remember that person, he's called Rutaya, or the one who was making a lot of noise in Makindye military court. I don't remember his name. But according to what he says, after the mission, some people from the National Unity Platform, led by their president, went and picked money from some sources. He pocketed the money. He only took, I think, 1 million to his family.
You heard that from Mawanda still?
I had that still from Mawanda, because Mawanda...
So Mawanda was the recipient of the money?
No.
He was copied in into the transfer?
No, wait. I am not saying that this is concocted by Honorable Mawanda. Mawanda says he got this information from your own person who was incarcerated from Ruzira. So these people, if you see, this is not how they seek for justice. Absolutely not. He says they have gone to court, they have members of parliament, they have the opportunity to appoint the leader of the opposition in parliament. They know how to seek for justice for their people. But when you decide to go to UK...
The National Unity Platform has been assertive on this matter.
How?
The issue has been tabled in Parliament. The council have gone to court.
My brother, the issue of November 2020 has never been tabled to Parliament.
The question of missing persons?
Maybe that one, but we are talking about what Ivan was raising here over the November 2020, what we call riots and what they call massacre.
So government has no duty to investigate and give accountability?
The president,
it has to wait for someone to come.
The president did so, and for you, what...
the people
exactly. Now they are saying...
waiting for NUP.
No, the president gave accountability of what happened on that day. You remember, he said this happened, this way.
42 people were killed by stray bullets.
I don't know, but what these people are asking, have you put measures for your people to be compensated by government, or you are just wasting time?
So it's
and
if
making...
NUP doesn't, government has no duty. If NUP doesn't demand,
you see,
Council Bowe, you need to come in.
You
Yes.
see, at times I am amazed by colleagues that want to make this matter a partisan issue. But also, when a person dies, in my culture at least, there are collections that are made to help and sustain the family. We call it a mavugo. But when the collector of mavugo receives the mavugo and uses that mavugo for himself, that does not make them accountable. And whereas they are not responsible for the death, the act of stealing mavugo in itself does not make them the best advocates for the survivors and the family.
The information I can give you there, we have mabugo and mataba. Maybe these ones have gone ahead to even eat the mataba.
So, by the way, culturally, that
would you rather we focus on the quest for justice?
The quest for justice, justice, there is restorative my brother knows that justice takes very many forms. There are reparations, the restorative justice. There are reparations. There is compensation. There is.
Who is responsible to do that?
So ideally,
NUP?
Ideally, it's the duty of the state to make good of the wrongs it did. By the way, I'm not exonerating the state. I am very serious on it. But where there is an activity that arises out of a tragic event of the sort, then the proceeds of that should go to the families. So, and this, I speak about this authoritatively because, I mean, in due time I will release the information to the public.
But
you see,
there are lots of pending things you promised the public.
You see, when you were speaking, I said nothing.
Okay.
And,
proceed.
I ask that we respect each other.
Yeah, but it's a debate. It's not a sermon.
So, in all this, for example, if today there is a House resolution in the House of the United States, that is House Resolution number 324, 1324 of the 118th Congress, about the state of human rights, of which such matters are before the House of the United States. And guess what?
And this is all thanks to the leadership of the National Unity Platform.
And guess what? Guess what? These things, part of the resolution is not supported. Part of the resolution is not supported on such critical issues. And then, when we are looking for justice, I think we should all be hands on deck, yeah, and also not be a little bit selfish in terms of, for example, if you ask today on the millions and millions of US dollars that came from that documentary, how much have the families received, apart from parading them before the media? And it hurts me that today those families still suffer. Again, the primary responsibility is for the state to compensate and make good. They can never, of course, we can never get back the people, the many. But as I said, the Mabugo and the Mataba, the Mataba phenomenon works here. And guess what? Should we only ask for...
Your argument is clouded in money. Whereas Mosisi and group are pushing for justice. Do you get a sense that the quest for justice is hitting a dead end?
In one of the cases that was decided that's now on appeal, the biggest contention is that the money given in compensation to the family is limited. So at the moment, we cannot, no one is a god. Even the government that is primarily responsible for making sure that they compensate all, they try to restore the families, cannot bring them back to life. That is gone. Unfortunate as it is, they are not gods to resurrect them, even when it would have been the most preferred option. But then you compensate them in terms of money and making sure that you hold accountable those that participated in that massacre. I'm using the word massacre. Clearly, I choose my words carefully. That was a massacre, and the government is supposed to hold up and stop that impunity.
Councillor George, when you're pushing for accountability and justice and a reprimand on the culprits who participated in what he calls a massacre, have you been able to come up with an elaborate list of who is who, or the entire case is almost hitting a dead end?
It cannot hit a dead end. It cannot hit a dead end. All the victims have been profiled.
The victims?
Yes. And where?
How about the perpetrators?
Some of them have been profiled. But even BBC came up with a very good documentary. I don't know where one brother has asked BBC to give money for the documentary. You know, let us get out of this infatuation with NUP and discuss serious issues, Simon. People were killed. Ugandans on the streets of Kampala, they were shot by government security agencies who are meant to protect them. This is not an NUP issue. Actually, if you want to build the context, who made a documentary out of the shootings? If my brother is saying the millions of dollars came in, as lawyers, we are held to high duty. We can't just come on TV and make how many dollars came out of the shootings.
Am I allowed to answer?
And which movie came out of the November 2020?
No, but the vanguards of
You
the
get?
whole struggle for justice.
Let's build a bigger context, Simon. People were killed in Kasese. I don't know whether NUP was responsible. I don't know if the documentary was made. How many people have been compensated? We were killed in Kasese on the command of General Relu. How many people have been compensated? Or which document has come out? So we delude ourselves. We vulgarize the debate if we can't get out of this infatuation with NUP. This is, like I said, even any NUP person could have been a victim. Or an NRM person could have been. I don't think that some of those people were shot were not NRM. Secondly, if you talk about justice, and Simon, for me, that is the most important issue. If you talk about justice, where I started from, I said it's two-way. One is compensation, and it's the duty of government, primarily, no other person. Primarily, because like I've said, even by the official government report, 53 people were shot by bullets. So primarily it's by government. Secondly, the other issue of justice is who was responsible for the death of Ugandans. Simon, we have lost sense of taking Ugandans' life seriously, that you just talk about it in numbers. You had the Chigogo incident, not police. I hope my brother doesn't leak it to NUP, where fire burns and police says 20-something people have killed. Chitezi, 39 bodies have been discovered. We're just talking about numbers. But those are Ugandans. And the question is, who is responsible, who has compensated the families? Because justice is compensation and accountability. And this is not a duty, it's for all of us, including you, Simon.
Honorable Kabanda, what stands out now is that the blood of dozens of Ugandans that was spilled in those 2 days rests on the hands of Uganda's security, right? And government has moved on, has tended to move on, regardless of the outcry from the people about justice.
Simon, before I go there, I want to implore my brothers in the National Unity Platform to copy from Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Who has been kidnapped.
Many things have happened during his struggles as the leader of the opposition in Uganda. I remember there is a gentleman from Chenjojo who was shot in 2010 at Bulangi. I don't remember the names, but recently Dr. Kizza Besigye traveled to Chenjojo, either Chenjojo or in Rwenzori or sub-region, to celebrate his life. Of course, the gentleman was appreciating Dr. Kizza Besigye because he has been taking care of him and his family. And Besigye clearly states that he thanked the supporters from in and outside who have been sending in support for that gentleman. And he gave accountability of what has been received by the FDC. He says, so-and-so gave us this amount, so-and-so gave us this amount, this NGO gave us this amount, and this is the money that has been going into the man's account, take care of his family, the children, and himself, because his legs, I think, were shattered, and he moves in a wheelchair. So I want to implore our brothers in the National Unity Platform that if you want to sustain a struggle, be transparent. If you want to sustain a struggle, don't make it a business, a venture, because this is a struggle. You have to lead by example.
NUP showed them.
You have to lead by example, because when you say, you see, when I went to NBS, that's where I was, I shouldn't say this, maybe I got an issue, whatever happened to me from NBS. So, okay, NBS is responsible for what happened to me, but now what Bowe is saying, how about you? who drove me up to Murago, and I had my money in my car, and you went away with it. Then when I passed on, you corrected Mabugo, and you ate it.
What message do you have to the murderer?
But I mean, before I reach now the murderer.
Hey, the murderer comes second.
Of course, because for you.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree.
No, I am not saying that. I am not saying that the murderer comes in second. But what I am saying, you who has come as a good Samaritan, you're also not any better.
Do you have a message for the murderer?
Each commemoration, each anniversary brings fresh tears. You hear plight from families, the bereaved families who have never been assisted, who are still actually pressing for questions on who killed their beloved.
But anyway,
NUP. That's what.
And the lack of remorse from government is rather telling.
no, but who's supposed to do that for them? Who's supposed to do that for them? Because you see, what you're asking, you're now pressing government on the wall. You as Simon Kagwanjara, but who's supposed? Because we are all here as leaders to remind government on what has been done and on what has been promised and on the pledges.
But I've not heard you send the message to government, Dawoodi. I've only heard you talk about NUP.
But no,
Because who shot them is not in.
unless you are not listening. From the onset, I said even the national resistance movement has lost supporters.
Yeah. But
In the 2020 riots, we also lost our people.
so
And we want government, and because I said the government, the president himself came out and gave us accountability of what happened.
yeah, but the difference between the president, Dawoodi, and us is that for him, he doesn't just talk. But accountability means he takes action.
But you see, the question you asked here, Simon, the government, of course.
Okay,
When
4 years down the road, what remains unsolved
On the
on the question of the murders that happened?
Simon, this I don't want you to push it to government alone. When the current leader of opposition was giving his maiden speech as the leader of opposition, he cited, of course, rule. I don't remember the rule, but he said his main responsibility is to keep government in check as a leader of the opposition in parliament. And we are looking forward to that. If you don't keep us in check, it is you now, the next media, that is keeping government in check by bringing back this topic for us to discuss about it. What they are doing is not keeping government in check.
What are they doing?
They are just making money. You go with the turnover, you go with the candles, then from there you go to America, you get money. Of course, they are denying not to have gotten money from, but they have been receiving money.
They've not denied.
He said he said you have been promising many things, and you have never produced any evidence, and according to him, they have never received any
as an
money.
ex-Catholic,
you see-
Dawoodi is criticizing us for having candles in mass. Both
see-
you Catholics can tell me whether that is also
you see,
NUP.
you see, this month is special in the Catholic Church. Glad you mentioned it. And I want to say that to whom much is given, much is expected. When you championed at the National Unity Platform a quest for justice, then your actions
Must speak.
you must be accountable, and you must be transparent.
You do walk the
And
talk.
just like you check government, you are not immune from being checked or criticized by your actions. Now, I want to clearly state, and I reaffirm this, the government is guilty in this whole massacre. There is no question about it. And I don't want us to debate about whether it's not guilty or no, that's, but what we are tracing are actions. What is clear now is that there continues to be impunity, and because when there is no justice, then that means impunity is a continuing event. And to this very day, 4 years down the road, there is still impunity because people have never received justice. But also, many actors that are responsible or have come forward to make sure the victims get justice are floating around with dirty hands. And to me, I want to commend, I'm not saying that the National Unity Platform, as the leadership, has done nothing. I mean, I can appreciate the little actions they have done. Do I believe that we should call them to a higher standard? Yes. Do I believe they could still do more? Yes. Do I still think they need to be transparent about the monies they received as a result of that unfortunate events for the benefit of the victims, some of whom were at
You
coverage?
agree it
You
is
share
a
it,
strenuous
but
job. It's a strenuous job, putting government on the edge to account.
Yes, I agree.
And well, I would also ask, I would equally ask you, to what extent do you think November 18th and 19th attacks redefined the way we do politics in Uganda?
As I told you, when I was beginning, I gave a history of such incidences. But still, apart from June 2021, when President Museveni apologized for the Mukula massacre, we still see consistently that impunity and lack of government owning up, one, and apprehending and punishing the commanders and the perpetrators, but also making sure that the victims receive justice is an element that spans way back from 1989 with the first massacre popularly known
So do you want
in
to
Uganda.
suggest that getting answers for the November massacres, what you call massacres, is futile already?
No, it's not futile, but it depends on the actions of those championing this cause, and it should be a concern to every citizen. The families are at least for the official account, is 54. The cases Council is talking about are 5 cases. I do not know why, in their wisdom, they chose the 5 and not a class action. I do not know.
What did you do yourself?
As a human rights activist, this as one. What have you done?
What have I done
about that massacre?
At least you should be very candid to know that I wrote about that gun violence.
Oh, you wrote about it?
Yes, I wrote.
Congratulations.
I have. Thank you. So, in my smallness, I wrote about it, but also I am here calling us to higher standards. You get, and government in particular should own up and also compensate the victims.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Council George, 4 years on, what more do you intend to do? Because apparently, it looks as though the pursuit for justice for the few that you chose has proven futile.
I wouldn't say futile, Simon, because like I've told you, the struggle for justice it has no timelines until you get it.
Yeah.
So you can't say after 4 years. Some of the struggles we've gone through, one of the longest liberation struggles on this continent, took over 50 years, Simon. Some people took 10 years in detention. So you can't put a timeline, no time limit to say that after 4 years. The question is, what have we done?
Do you get a sense that actors have more forsaken you and left it to be a noob matter?
Yes, we live in a country, even in this debate where you put me between two PLU people. You
No. At least but he's not my member. At least he's not my member, Council.
Simon,
He's not my member.
but when you were
This
an
is
advocate
fixation now. He's not my name.
You are an advocate of silent debate. Let me make my point.
No, but that's unfair. I
That-
think you're putting the wrong
unfair.
tag on
What?
it.
He's not my member.
If he's not PLU,
Yes.
Well, I didn't know he has denied it. Now I stand corrected. I thought he was. Well, you said that we are living in such a polarized country, and I said that even within this debate, people cannot see things beyond political lenses, and which for me, I use sometimes extreme words so that it's vulgarizing. Because when it comes to human rights issues, we are not, I'm a human rights activist.
But the November attacks were a political incident.
It was a reaction to a political incident.
You can't divorce it from politics.
What I'm saying, Simon, it was a reaction to a political incident. But the victims are not political, all of them. You know that. I've told you that you've profiled them. Not all, even by the official government report, they say that only 11 were rioters, meaning the rest were innocent bystanders. That's the official report. So the question is it a duty of a particular group of people to demand for justice? My brother says, why haven't you opted for class action? Ivan, as a lawyer, you know that going to court is a matter of strategy, it's a matter of instructions. That's a basic. You are instructed, but you don't instruct yourself as lawyers. You don't say that I represent Simon when the Simon has...
Okay, key question.
So,
do you think the perpetrators will ever be tried?
Well, I still think so. Just like I think the
Who
perpetrators
is pushing for this?
Just like
you
I
are
think...
not, at least.
Who says? Why am I here?
Where is the case?
My brother says that, well, Simon, we don't deal... justice is not a matter of cases only. My brother says his contribution, he wrote an article. Didn't he make a contribution? That's why I'm saying that we've told you that there are some cases in court. There's one which has been decided. And just like we even hope, well, because if you look at this incident in isolation, when it's a quest for justice, you have to look at the bigger context. I told you about Kasese, who has ever been apprehended. But I don't think that the struggle is dead. In 2001, Human Rights Watch wrote that the 2000 elections, over 100 Ugandans died in 101. Remember the Kalanga Action Plan group. So if you look at this as an isolated incident, you lose the point. And I'm saying that if you keep looking on it as an us versus them, as day follows son, we shall be here again talking about another incident, and we shall all be gloating because it's not us.
Honorable Commander, is it possible for the country to put the November riots behind us and we move on?
Yeah, of course, today I have just I've known it from Council Musi that he has never received instructions from the National Unity Platform to take government to court.
That's not what I've said.
As its lawyer, because
that's not what I've said.
If you remember, when he was referring to Council Boy's submission,
yes,
he said,
asking why not all the 54.
As a lawyer, you know how you go to court.
Yes.
You go after receiving instructions from your client.
NUP was not the victim.
And of course it is NUP which is now organizing masses and going to the United States of America. But yet it's not the victim.
Yeah, they are offended Ugandans. For you are not offended because you didn't have a victim.
When you are offended, then you can't go to court. When you are offended, you can't go to court. But when it comes to receiving money, then you are the victim. Now you see contradictions, many contradictions here. You say, I am not a victim. But when it comes to receiving money,
which
then
money was received?
You want to assert that no is cashing in on the
you mentioned the money. You know, Simon, you
and I think that's unfortunate.
You mentioned that they received this money from this November.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you can't come to
okay, let him submit.
Exactly, this is what I wanted to demystify, because Council was saying that you're not denying to have received any monies for the November 2020.
Yeah, I've not seen them.
You see?
You mentioned Dawoodi raised the debate and say they received this money from this source. Simple as that.
Perhaps allow me help.
You want to come in with the record?
No as a political party has not received. But I can give you with all confidence that the Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu received millions of US dollars.
No, don't make a say from how much?
No, you see, unless you're becoming his spokesperson, I'm giving you information.
I'm raising the level of the debate, not to make it like a Marwa debate. Say, receive this money from here.
You see, Musisi, when you're speaking, I let you speak. But when I want to speak, you do not want to let me speak.
I don't want you to make wild allegations.
By the way, I am aware that I can be held for defamation, and that's okay. So I'm giving you information. Let the viewers receive that information.
But I've not gotten any information yet.
Okay, will you listen to him, please?
Now, I can authoritatively tell you that there was a documentary shot that was shown on Nat Geo World. That money had proceeds.
It's public information.
That money had proceeds. That documentary had proceeds that went to the person of the Honorable Kyagulanyi Robert Sentamu. And if
You're sure about this?
I am certain, and I challenge, it's a challenge. If I am defaming him, let him take me to court, or let him come out openly to deny that he has never received any
So
money.
what information have you given me?
So the
No,
money,
the information he has been giving me,
Okay.
not you, is that you have been denying that,
That the document showed on Nat Geo?
that you don't want to listen. I don't know. The Council of George Musi that I have known for years is not the same Musi that I know has joined in the nationality platform. I don't know what has spoiled him. Because the one I used to know used to listen, used to be patient, but this one has been spoiled by the Kavule. He never wants anybody to say anything. but anyway,
he's battering his brain.
I am telling you.
What is fundamental?
You know,
There is
Bowe
an
can't see
enduring
anything beyond
legacy
money.
of the November 20
Sorry, I beg your
attacks.
pardon?
There is a legacy
Yes.
that has endured 4 years down the road. How is it affecting the kind of politics that exists now?
It absolutely affects the politics that exist now. How? Because when you, the leader, you're not accountable, you're not transparent, and you're heading towards another election, then you don't expect people to believe in you and support you as a transparent leader. Because this Omwerufu thing was brought by the Katikkiro of Buganda. Now, even you must be a Mwerufu. If you're not transparent, you don't expect more people to follow you. People, they have given you information and you want to deny because you want to win a case. They have told you you lost people. Yes, nobody condones violence. Nobody condones whatever you call it, massacre or whatever. But now, you, who's a leader, a promising one, that is promising Ugandans beautiful things in your leadership, accountability, many things. If they ask you to account for the funds that you have received from, by the way, from both the MPs, because this one I can also authoritatively say this, when we received the money for buying cars, at least they were given instructions from the NUP headquarters, each of them to bring 10 million out of that money.
For what?
For whatever, I don't know, but they brought money, 10 million, each of them. They do subscribe, give money, 1 million. They do get money from the Electoral Commission. And when Ugandans say, can you please account for this money? Then they will say, but does NRM account for the money? As if whatever you do, because you say, when they say, can you account for the Mataba? And then you say, but how about the government which killed people? Then what about you? Can you account for the Mabugo?
I'm afraid we need to get out of here, but Council Bowe, how awkward does it look that the opposition has not stood together to make this, the November 20, a rallying point in the politics of the country?
One, I think is a matter of leadership, lack of leadership. I've said before, and I say it now, that we do not have proper leadership at the moment, and because of that, government is running away with some of the things which they should not run away with, and also because there is a leadership deficiency. At the end of the day, it's the people that quest for a better country that suffer. The Mass is so good, oh Lord, I would sacrifice anything to attend Mass and pray for the souls in purgatory and everything. But also we need actions and accountability.
Which actions?
We need accountability.
What remains undone?
What remains undone is...
They've gone to court, they have commemorated, they have done anything.
Yes, but I mean, we have seen in certain cases where they have entered negotiations with government over issues pertaining other people. So can't we, that's why I'm saying, I am not in the leadership, but I'm saying the only purpose as to why people choose you as a leader is to provide solutions. And to me, at the moment, is we do not see any sense of direction beyond the cameras and everything that comes from our leaders, from the National Unity Platform. And I want to make a caveat that this does not mean that the NRM is doing it well and the government is doing it well. The only challenge is that the big brothers of the National Unity Platform in the NRM are not also doing what they are supposed to do.
Okay, Councillor George, as we get out of here, how do you go beyond
Of course, I sympathize with my brother because he seems to be caught up. His soul is caught up in saying the right thing as a lawyer, but then he can't go beyond NUP. When you say that our brothers, our leaders have not pushed, what has stopped you? This is not a duty of anyone Ugandan. And Simon, I know victims, I know families of these people, I know families of missing persons. I will not join the mockery of people who leave a murderer and to say, no, you're a widow, you didn't cry enough. When someone comes and throws an allegation that they made money, is there any documentary out of Luka that it was staged to manage Luka? Okay, if it was, were the security officers who shot part of Bobi Wine's plan?
Okay, but how do you get over the perception that you have cashed in on the tragedy?
That perception is anchored in pettiness, it's anchored in polarized politics, and it's not anchored in seeking accountability.
Was there a documentary?
Of course, that's public knowledge. Don't you know that?
Did it fetch some money?
You ask. You should ask the producer.
No, the documentary fetched
Simon.